County.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to the third season of Her Story, the journey to winning a seat at the table. I'm your host, Mary Jane Murray, and this program is a series of conversations with inspirational women with amazing stories to share. And stories are a tapestry of lifelong experiences and events. So let's explore the journey. My guest today is singer-songwriter Paige Warner. And she is not only a singer-songwriter, but she is a performing and recording artist as well. And she launched her career in 2018. And along the way, she has been winning some awards as well. The Arts and Culture Award, which is the Emerging Artist Award for 2022. But a few years prior to that, she won the Summer Folk Youth Discoveries in 2015. So now she is appearing in our local venues and in our region. So make sure that you follow Paige Warner's activities going forward. And not only is she very accomplished as a singer and songwriter, but she is also very accomplished on the guitar and the piano. Now, Paige's music is a dance, and it's between R&B, blues, pops, indie, and a few other things mixed in as well, and she will explain that. We often see very accomplished women doing very interesting things, but that spark that can emerge at any stage and at any age. And this is Paige's journey. Welcome, Paige, and thank you so much for taking the time this morning to join us in this conversation. It is just lovely to see you again.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
And how are things going? I mean, you've had a busy summer.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy, but like doing all the best things and all the things I love. So I really can't complain. It feels like one thing after the other, which is just very exciting.
So when I talked about the fact that you launched your career in 2018, there's a whole backstory to that before that actually happens. So let's reflect back to your early years and how this journey got started.
Yeah, so 2018 was when I released my first music into the public. There was obviously a lot going on before that, but I would probably say my journey started when I was about 7. That's when I started taking vocal lessons and started kind of, I guess, making that decision that this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. I can't imagine doing anything else. So yeah, like I started out doing local competitions and little Christmas musicals and stuff like that. And that's really where I realized this is definitely what I want to do. Like I feel the most me being on stage performing, even though I had terrible stage fright to be clear, and singing and all of that stuff in that realm. It just felt like, you know, I've kind of found my place here.
Oh, when you talk about stage fright, you know, we all kind of go through that, including myself at various points in time. So how did you manage to get over your stage fright?
Well, I'm not sure if I still fully have. I still definitely get nervous before, especially shows that are really important to me. And it was something I had to work through. I have kind of general anxiety in general. So, that was probably one of my bigger challenges when I started out in music. But I think what helped me get over it was just reminding myself that this is what I want to do. It's not stage fright, like where you're getting up in front of the class and you're forced to do a speech, you know, and you don't want to do the speech and you're talking about something you don't really want to talk about. It was, you know, singing in front of people and singing songs I'd written. And it was all stuff that I was really passionate about. So I think just trying to transition my brain from, oh my gosh, I'm so terrified, I don't want to do this, to, wow, I'm nervous because this is so important to me and because it's something that really means something to me and my journey in music. So yeah, just pivoting from nerves to excitement. I'm still not perfect at that yet, but that's what I have to remind myself still.
In full disclosure, that happens to me too, in terms of all the things that I do in the community. And standing up in front of a group, doing a workshop, or having to do a presentation, or even being on hosting a TV program, certainly brings out that nervousness. But it's also can be translated into nervous energy that propels you forward. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So along this pathway that you've chosen, so I'm just going to add a little something here. It's always really good to reread your diary from your childhood. Yes, I read my diary from when I was 7, and that's when I wrote, you know, this is what I want to do with my life. And I guess that's when I decided, because I've never changed my mind since then. So it reminds me, you know, that it's been a while, you know, I'm sticking to this. Yeah. Well, I think sometimes at a very early age, we just know what we want. When we write it down and can reflect back on it, it just reaffirms the pathway that you're on. But, you know, going into the music business and following this dream that you have and this passion, you've had to make some decisions. Was there a pivotal moment at which you decided that it was going to be your career as opposed to something like a hobby, something you do on the side for fun and joy? Now it's going to be a career. So was it an actual pivotal moment? Yeah, there was probably a few pivotal moments. I mean, this is always kind of an interesting thought for me because I'm a very indecisive person in general. Like even deciding what I'm going to eat for breakfast can cause me so much stress that I just have to make someone else make the decision. But this is always something that I knew I wanted to do, and there was never any shakiness about that for me. But probably some moments that I can think back to where it really locked that into place for me was when I was younger. I did a little idol competition called Wellesley Idol. And that was the first time that people outside of my family or outside of the friends and circles that I grew up in saw me perform and, you know, seemed impressed by it or moved by the way I was singing. And, you know, some people would come up and say, oh, I got chills when you performed that. And that was the first time that I was like, wait, other people can enjoy this too. It's not just that biased close circle that's like, yeah, you know, you got this. So that was definitely a big moment for me. And another moment that was before that, I grew up with a lot of sore throats, like almost constantly. I had sore throats and was sick. And the doctors made the decision to get my tonsils removed, TMI. But and after I had that, I did have this sense of relief because I was able to sing very easily, and my parents signed me up for vocal lessons after that. And my amazing vocal teacher at the time, Charmaine Brown, she really encouraged me and helped me kind of find a sound that fit my voice. And she was very, I guess she pushed me, but in a very encouraging and gentle way, which was what I needed at that time. And yeah, so that in itself was definitely really pivotal. And of course, the 7-year-old's diary entry is still something I think back to as, you know, an aha moment, I guess. Like, wow, I already knew at 7. That's really wild for me to think about. But yeah, I think the most recent one was probably when I graduated high school and had to make that decision to put off going to college or university. And I know that's not for everyone, and not everyone has the privilege to be able to do that, but I thankfully did, and I'm really grateful for that. And I, you know, put it off and decided I'm going to pursue music full time. I'm just going to dive right into this. And yeah, that moment was definitely like probably the biggest
pivotal moment, because that's really what decided the path I was on, rather than, I'm going to do music on the side and I'll find another profession. I was just really privileged to be able to decide after high school, this is what I'm doing and I'm going to give it my all and go for it. And that's what I did. And that's where I am now.
Well, I'm certainly glad you are, because I've listened to your music and I just think that you're really on a stellar path here. But you mentioned that you had mentors, that you had people around you that supported this passion and encouraged you, not only developed your skill, but it also encouraged you in terms of your attitude. You can do this. You are a performer. So as we journey through life, we need other people to support us, those mentors. So I'm so glad that you mentioned your family and your vocal teacher.
Yeah, and I mean, I do have to say a shout out to my mom here too. She isn't musical herself necessarily, but she never made me question that this was what I could do and what I wanted to do. She always just believed in what I was doing and said, you can do it, was there to give me a hug when I was sad about something and was there to push me onto the stage when I was too nervous. So yeah, that's another woman in my life particularly that really stood there and never, tried to put other ideas into my brain. She's like, this is what you're going to want to do and this is what you're doing and I'm here for it. So yeah.
Well, it really makes such a difference in the trajectory of your path. That's for sure. But in the music business, this is a tough business to be in. And finding your voice. Now, there's two levels to finding your voice, and that is the style, the musical style that you want in your voice, but it's also the voice in your head that makes the best decisions for you. And so, did you have any difficulties or any barriers in terms of finding your personal voice in order to integrate into the music business professionally?
Yes, I did definitely have difficulties. That's probably one of my bigger struggles along the way, is being sure of myself and sure of decisions, without outside input. And there's so much in the music industry and in the music industry, there's a lot of people that have things to say. And a lot of it is very helpful. I've totally learned a ton from people that are just educating and trying to kind of guide people along the way. But yeah, there's a lot of, you need to do this, you need to write like this, you need to look like this, you need to sound like this to be able to make it. And I think that is probably one of the harder parts of getting into music and trying to make it your career. Especially for me, like that's how I felt. And I think it's hard to, stand firm and what, this is what I'm comfortable writing and this is what feels true to me. And maybe this isn't a radio friendly song, but it's the song that feels genuine to my journey right now. And, maybe that outfit doesn't feel like me. I don't know if I want to wear that on stage. It feels like tiny things, but there's a lot of opinions, I guess I should say, out there. And I think the way I got past that was just looking at other artists that have kind of made their mark in music and seeing that most of them kind of went against the status quo a little bit and stayed true to who they are and true to their songs. And that's what shone through. And I mean, even as a music fan and listener myself, that's the kind of music I really enjoy, is stuff that, is very true to them and is very unique. And I think, yeah, that's kind of the way that I solved that for myself. Still working on it, but yeah.
Well, I have a quote here, and it may sound familiar to you because we have chatted before. And that was, it's less of a product and more of an artist. And I think that when you stay true to that, because those are in your words, when you stay true to that, then you are anchoring your voice. And it's good that you have people behind you who are encouraging your voice to be authentic to yourself.
Yeah, completely. And I think a lot of people don't have the luxury of having people that are supportive of their music journey. So I'm really grateful to have that. there definitely are always doubters and people that, you know, try and tell you, I don't know if like this is a good decision for your life. But yeah, I'm really grateful to have the support. It makes a huge difference.
Well, I think you were coming into the Owen Sound area from Waterloo. And how did you knit musically into the community?
It was a lot easier than I expected. Everyone around here is super warm and welcoming. And I was a bit blown away because I wasn't sure. I grew up in the same town since I was one, right? Like I lived in the same town. I was one, I moved out on my own and still lived in the same town until a couple of years ago. And I moved here and I thought, this could be tricky. You know, I'm an adult now. Everyone has their, you know, people that they go to for music already. And maybe there's already really tight-knit communities. But yeah, everyone is super welcoming. I found a band quite quickly, I would say. I thought it was going to take a lot longer than that. And people just jumped on board, like, you know, let's do this, sounds fun. And I'm like, okay, sounds great. And, you know, like other venues and stuff around here have been really open to having a new artist in the mix. And yeah, it's actually been a lot easier than I expected.
Well, this is actually a great community to land in, particularly when you're new in the business, you've made these decisions, and now you have to follow through and network with the other musicians, singer-songwriters, performers in the community. And Summer Folk is a great opportunity in that respect, in terms of getting your feet wet in our community and then coming back. But when you stand up for yourself and make the best decisions make decisions that you think are best for you, do you feel that you're being heard in this community and in this business?
In this community, definitely. I think in the overarching business, it is sometimes hard to make yourself heard. And I don't mean just like get your music in people's ears. I mean in your decisions and like career decisions, what songs you're releasing. I think that can also be, kind of tricky. Like I said before, there's so many opinions and so many views about what's the right way to do things and what's the wrong way to do things. But I think, again, just staying true to the messages I want to convey and the songs that are speaking from my life, it seems to be the best way to get people to hear what I'm saying, because it's genuine and people, I think, see that.
Well, in listening to your music, I thought it was very personal. We've seen trends over the years where music performers were really performing for an audience. It was very staged. And now we see that it's drifting away from that, where artists are becoming more authentic, and that the songs that they're writing are a reflection of their life and their experiences. Yeah, I agree. And I think, honestly, in general, especially with the generation that's like slightly younger than me, I think being genuine and real is really important to them, because they've grown up in a world where, and myself included, have grown up in a world where social media is so prevalent and any sort of information coming at you is just an overload. And a lot of that is quite tailored, I guess is the word, and can be kind of fake. So I think that having genuine music, even like pop songs that I hear now, a lot of pop songs are exact word for word a story of someone's experience. Like they could be talking about a relationship and they're talking about, we were in this car, we were in the driveway at your grandma's, and we were drinking this drink together, and we were talking, you know, like it's all very specific. And I think that's really important to people, because there's so much fake information and tailored and curated information coming at us, that when a song is genuine and you can feel like, wow, someone actually lived this exact moment, it feels special and it feels really good to connect with another human that way, I think. Well, I think in some of your songs, you're connecting with people who can not only feel the song and the music, but they can identify and link in with the message. Yeah, and that's what I have always kind of set out to do. Like my, I guess, mission statement in life is to help people feel seen through song. And so when I'm writing, I'm definitely writing just from a, this is my experience, this is me getting my emotion out. But when I'm kind of releasing it to the world, that's my hope, is that someone will hear it and think, oh, wow, like
I didn't think anyone would understand this moment as much as this song does. You know, sometimes it feels like other people don't understand things you're going through. And I've always felt that music understands me, I guess. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but so that's always been my mission, just like helping people feel seen through the songs that I write.
Well, I think that's really, really important, because when the authenticity comes through, and I have watched you play, I've watched some of your videos and I've watched you live, and you can see the connection between you and the lyric, and then blend it in with the music. So you see this authentic package.
Yeah, and I think I couldn't write any other way. I don't know how to write for, I guess, like how people would say it is like for radio. I don't know how to write with like the equation. It never comes out right. So the only way I know how to write is just by writing my experiences. And sometimes that's really hard, but it's so worth it in the end.
Well, I did watch, excuse me, I did watch one of your videos, and The Right Thing. And you had used a lot of the local landscapes in that. So tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so this was actually a little DIY video that I did. I wanted to have some sort of visual with the area because I'm so grateful to be here and I love this area. I'm always, walking the trails and going downtown, visiting the local stores and stuff. So I wanted to include kind of that love in this release. It isn't my first release since I've moved here, but it's the first one that feels like I'm really integrated in the community. So yeah, I went to a bunch of different spots in town and just kind of recorded me singing along to it. And I thought, I'll find one of the spots that ended up working out well. And when I went to watch the footage back, I liked them all. So we just mashed them all together and put it in a video. And, for people outside of town that don't know this area, they might, recognize some of it, but they won't fully know. But I know that people in town will say, oh my gosh, like there's the grain elevators, there's the park, that kind of stuff. And I love seeing that in videos myself. So yeah, I wanted to mesh that all together.
Well, it was very effective. And I was doing exactly the same thing,
Okay.
Identifying all the local scenes, because we have stunning landscapes in our community, and very identifiable or recognizable landscapes as well. And so it's also a way of the video is also a way of attracting people to come to the area as well.
Yes, the amount of people I've said you need to move to Owen Sound to. I'm not sure how many I've convinced yet, but it definitely comes up a lot. I'm trying to convince people to come here all the time because I feel mentally so well here. So yeah.
Oh, well, I know that this has been a journey for you and you still have many years of journey ahead of you. But what have you actually learned about yourself through this process? Because not only is your music reflective of your life, but what have you learned about some of those hardcore lessons or some of that just moving along the path? But what have you learned about yourself?
I think probably at least this year, this is what stands out to me. I've learned to trust myself and my decisions and my creative decisions. Like I kind of said earlier, tying it back into that, there's a lot of outside voices that think that they know what's best. And some do. I do take advice because I think it's really important to ask for help and ask for advice. But at the end of the day, it's, my art and it's my expression. So I just have learned to trust that what feels right in my gut for something, even if it's the tiniest thing, like, I don't know if I should use this shot in the video or this shot, what feels right is probably what's right, because music is so personal, especially in my writing. So I don't want to stray from that and do what I think is maybe going to catch people the most. I just try to express. And on the other end of that, the less creative side, I've learned to very much treat this like a business. And that is not a fun thing to say. I know everyone likes to hear about the creativity and the emotion and all of that. And that is such an important part, like 90% of it, of course. But there also is the side that this is a career I'm trying to grow and it is a business. And sometimes people don't fully understand that. Because I think personally, I think that musicians and creatives are entrepreneurs at the end of the day. They're trying to start a business and grow a brand in a sense, and you have to do the marketing, and all the business side of everything is part of that, especially if you want it to be a career long term. So I think bringing that piece into the creative always feels a bit like, ooh, is this icky? I don't know. It's weird to push your own music when it's so personal. It's weird to market your own music when it's so personal. But at the end of the day, it is what is going to help people connect with your music the most, because if someone could connect with your song, but you're not putting in the work to get that song to them, then what's the point? Yeah, so that's kind of the less creative side of things that I've learned. But yeah, I said this before we started, my brain goes a million miles a minute and I'm thinking about 200 things at once. And I think just staying organized and trying to keep myself on the path and have my mission very clear and my goals very clear is also something that has kind of had to happen for me to accomplish anything. But yeah, and because music is like my baby, it's the love of my life, I can't imagine doing anything else. It's hard to delegate, I guess is the word, tasks. And like I said, like it is a business, so it's very hard to let go pieces of that, to ask for help or to ask for advice or to ask, someone to come onto the team or do a part that usually I would do. So just learning to be able to say, this is something I could do, but I either don't have the time for it or I'm not going to do it as well as someone else, and being able to trust that that person can do it well is a big piece. I'm still learning that this year. That is like, I could like to control everything. So being able to say, you know what, there's a piece of this I'm going to hand off to you because you're, more familiar with it. That's, something I'm really having to learn this year.
Well, we're actually coming to the end of the program. We've really, I know it goes by really quickly.
It did.
So I just wanted to, I think really what you've done is you've already passed along the words of wisdom to our viewers through the conversation, and the impact going forward in your life. You've also sort of touched on that as well. So I'm just going to go right to the very little pop questions. We have 1 minute to go.
Sounds good.
And that is, when you're going through difficult times, do you have a little saying or mantra that you roll around in your head that keeps you going?
Yes, I'm not sure if it's a saying, but what I usually do when I'm going through a hard time is go for a walk in the forest or on a trail and just remind myself that I am small. It sounds funny, but sometimes decisions feel so big and important and weigh so heavy. And I just have to remind myself, I'm small. Look at this whole forest of trees. They're growing and they're doing beautiful things. And I'm just a small part of this world. And it's really not as dire as I think it is. So yeah, that's my version.
And the other, really quickly, what brings you joy?
Walking on trails, seeing nature, being with family, and yummy food and tea.
I was going to say, I'm sure there's a cup of tea in there somewhere.
Yes, there is.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being our guest today. This has been so much fun, and it's just lovely seeing you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please join me next time on Her Story for another amazing journey.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
From coast to coast, all across Canada, there's something very special going on. It's time to show your support. Time to spread the word. Time to demonstrate your commitment to